We've seen the president-elect engaging the world. He's spoken to more than 50 world leaders. I've spoken to several dozen myself, and he received a courtesy call from the democratically elected president of Taiwan.
It was prearranged,
to congratulate him. And, well, they reached out to offer congratulations, as leaders around the world have. And he took the call, accepted her congratulations and good wishes, and it was precisely that. I understand some of the controversy in the media about this, but I think
not just the media; it's with the Chinese government.
Well, yes, of course, but I would tell you that I think the American people find it very refreshing, the energy that our president-elect is bringing to this whole transition.
That's Vice President-elect Mike Pence reacting to criticism of the President-elect Trump for taking a congratulatory phone call from the president of Taiwan. Are the media overreacting? Joining us now, Sharyl Attkisson, host of Full Measure and author of the upcoming book, The Smear: How Shady Political Operatives Control What You See, What You Think, and How You Vote. Also with us, Lowry, Fox News contributor and editor of the National Review. Sharyl, to you first. Do you think the media are overreacting? If so, why?
I'm not sure it's an overreaction as more than unfair coverage tilted to one direction. I think, of course, if President-elect Trump has deviated from diplomacy or practice for decades, it deserves critical coverage. But that doesn't mean every bit of coverage by media outlets should be critical. It means also you're looking at the other side, and I think the media fails to realize in some instances that there is another viewpoint, that there are people who would view very positively the idea that Donald Trump would come into office with a different approach. There are a lot of people who think things have not been going well the past several years or even decades in many areas, and they would like to see something fresh, but you don't see that viewpoint represented, except to the extent when Trump supporters are represented sometimes in the media, it's to call them all as a group alt-white or racist, or alt-right, alt-white, supremacist or racist.
Yeah, the president-elect is just out with a tweet about, well, we presume it's about all of this. Here's what he just sent out. He says, if the press would cover me accurately and honorably, I would have far less reason to tweet. Sadly, I don't know if that will ever happen. Is there a double standard at work? He seems to say there is, Rich.
Yeah, well, the coverage was extremely hostile in the run-up to the election, and then after the shocking result in the election, you actually had some soul-searching in the media. The New York Times wrote a letter to its readers basically saying, sorry, guys, that we blew this because we weren't giving both sides, and now all the media has really snapped back to the way it's always been. Every other day, there's some hysterical story where Donald Trump has supposedly created some crisis that's going to blow up the world or blow up his administration. So Sharyl is right that this is an important story. It deserves coverage, but everyone needs to take a deep breath and not put it on the headlines as though it's the Cuban Missile Crisis again.
Yeah. Sharyl, you make a parallel or a comparison between what the Obama administration has done with Iran.
Well, I would just say that compare the coverage that President-elect Trump got for accepting a phone call or taking a phone call with Taiwan to President Obama making secret deals with the largest state sponsor of terrorism on the planet. And I would argue that the media outlets that have covered one critically have not covered the other with the same level of criticism, although arguably at least as important, if not vastly more important.
The Wall Street Journal is out with an editorial which notes this. It says it's notable that China has reacted better than the U.S. media to Mr. Trump's phone conversation. Beijing protested, but its foreign minister dismissed it as a petty trick by Ms. Tsai. Beijing censored the news inside China, while the English-language China Daily suggested Mr. Trump simply made a mistake. I wonder if people at home think this is just all a little silly. The man accepted a phone call from the democratically elected leader of Taiwan.
Yeah,
Rich?
I think that's right. But the median voter sitting at home thinks, why don't you accept the call from another democratically elected leader? And China's reaction, at least so far, has been fairly muted. And I think you're going to see that from a lot of foreign actors around the world. They're going to give President-elect Donald Trump and President Donald Trump in a couple months a lot of latitude because they want to see ultimately where he's going to go. And two, just as importantly, I think they're all a little bit afraid of him.
Interesting.
Well, let me go into the idea that perhaps this wasn't, I don't know one way or the other, but an uncalculated misstep by President-elect Trump. But what if he's crazy like a fox and that he intended to send a message? There are, again, viewpoints out there that are valid viewpoints to consider that think the United States doesn't have to, in every instance, please China or do things the way that has been done in the past. There are people who think things should be shaken up. And I'm not saying whether that's right or wrong. I'm just saying those viewpoints deserve some coverage in addition to the critical coverage.
Yeah, the Washington Post has a story today actually saying this was weeks in the making. And one of the reasons the coverage is so critical, everyone assumed it was a mistake. And some of the things that Trump folks had said, including Mike Pence yesterday, seemed to suggest they didn't consider it a big deal and it just was a congratulations call, but it seems to have been more than that.
All right. We're going to keep watching this story and the media reaction to the new Trump administration. It's pretty fascinating to watch. Sharyl, Attkisson, Rich Lowry, thank you both.